So today's all about how to hear your intuition and trust yourself enough to follow it. So today's going to be a really powerful day for you because I'm going to teach you some very powerful tools on how to hear your intuition, but not just hear it because many of us hear it already, but to start to identify the difference between your intuition and fear. My name is Cass Henry. I'm a master NLP practitioner, hypnotist. I'm the host of the Transform Your Life podcast, as well as this meetup. So I created this because I wanted to share all of the wisdom and experience that I have collected over the last 33, so for my whole life. And I wanted to share it in a way that was accessible to everybody. I have group coaching programs and I do coaching one-to-one, but I wanted to also have a space where I could just hang out with other like-minded people and share what I know in a way that we could all still connect in this way. So I spent many years overriding my intuition, and that led me to being in abusive relationships, falling to toxic behaviors, and including depression, anxiety, binge drinking, binge eating, you name it. I feel like I have experienced it. And it was all because there was stuff going on inside my unconscious. And that's why the topic of listening to your intuition is so near and dear to my heart, because when I started actually listening to my intuition, pairing that with faith, it really helped to transform my life. And so I don't want to gatekeep anything. I'm just going to give it to you as much as I can in an hour time frame. I also have a little workbook that I want to gift to all of you. So today you'll walk away with how to decode your intuition, the root of self-doubt and how it is built, because we're all born these intuitive beings, but for some reason, we were taught along the way not to actually trust ourselves. Maybe we were told that we were too sensitive, or we're being too much, or however we're feeling or thinking is not real, so we start to doubt ourselves. I'll also give you some practical tools to start trusting yourself again and a clear next step if you want to go deeper with me. So, if I'm being honest, I don't think that you guys have a clarity problem. I feel like many of you know exactly what you want. Oftentimes we know what we want. It comes through in the form of a desire. Oh, you have a desire to maybe start a business. You have a desire to have a puppy, or you have a desire to go left on your way to work instead of right. These are all things that we know we want, but for some reason, we don't trust ourselves enough to follow through. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, because life can be magical and amazing if we allow ourselves to actually experience it that way. There's so much that life has to offer. So when we start to fully trust ourselves, then we can experience life to the fullest. So if you're in the room today, there's a good chance that overthink. You probably overthink a lot of them though, even the small ones, such as, I don't know what to eat for dinner. Let's say you do know what you want to eat for dinner, but maybe it's just not the right choice. Maybe you want to go eat fast food and you're like, oh, but I don't know what I want to eat for dinner. You might know. You might even second guess yourself right after you make a choice. You're like, okay, I'm ready, I'm committed, I want to do this. And as soon as you press pay or you sign up for something or you say yes, you're like, what have I done? Oh my gosh, I'm terrified. Maybe something is feeling off and then you talk yourself out of it. You'll learn how to trust yourself. Okay, and asking others for opinions before trusting yourself. So often people outsource their intuition. What should I do? What should I wear? How should I think right now? I was so guilty of that. I was like, does everybody do this? Does everybody ask for everyone else's opinions on their own lives before actually asking themselves, what do I want? How do I feel? What do I want to do? And then maybe you start off with being excited about things and then you slowly disappear because you went all in and then you're like, oh crap, what have I done? And then you pull back. That happens a lot with entrepreneurs as well. They're ready to just dive in. You're my favorite. No offense to people who aren't entrepreneurs or ADHD, but honestly, you're my favorite people because I just know your drive and your fire and also the things that hold you back from really just going all in on your life. So I'm really glad that you're here. Okay, you already know what you want. You already know what to do. You just don't trust yourself enough to do it. And I already said that, but I'm repeating myself because it's really important. I want you to all get that you probably do know what you want, and you probably do know what to do. There's no lack of strategies out there. It's, I want to lose weight. Why aren't you doing it? No, you know what to eat, you know how to exercise, you know how to stand up. You could just stand up right now and start ripping through some squats if you wanted to. It's because something deep inside of you is holding you back. I had a private client recently, and I was leading her through a hypnosis session, and she said, Cass, I really want to lose weight. I'm like, okay, great. So we can focus your hypnosis today on that. I'm like, okay, great. Is it all right with your unconscious mind today? Is it all right with your unconscious mind to release the weight? And she's yes. And then she's, oh, fear. I'm like, oh, the word fear popped up. So she told me, I'm like, okay, what's underneath that? Ask your unconscious mind what it means by the word fear. And she said, oh, I'm afraid that if I reach my goal and lose the weight, then I'm going to have all this extra skin. And I don't want that. I'm like, oh, okay. So part of you wants to lose weight, and the other part of you is terrified that you'll have extra skin. So the extra skin part isn't the biggest deal, but she also didn't have the funds that she felt was needed to then deal with that problem. So you can see where you know what to do and you know what you want, but then you aren't doing it because unconsciously you have this deep-rooted fear or this belief. Now, does everyone in the world who loses weight have excess skin in that way? No, probably not. But oftentimes our brain is searching for ways to protect us. So it's okay, tell me all the ways that this could go really bad so that I don't actually do it. Thank you, and I don't really need you to keep sabotaging my life this way, right? So, when you start to identify, when you have one part of you that wants this thing and then another part of you wants this other thing, and you're in this internal conflict, that's when getting to know your intuition and what it's saying to you can really help you reach the result that you want in your life. This happens all the time. Anytime I speak with someone and they want to reach a goal and they haven't done it yet, there is always a reason why. If you want to build a business, but deep down you're afraid of success, and I had this fear too, but I didn't realize it. I didn't know that I had this fear of success, but deep in my unconscious mind and in my nervous system, I felt, but what if I can't handle it? Or what if I reach the success but I lose it all? That's terrifying. So over here in this comfort zone of not being successful, it's familiar and it's known. I know this area. I know what to expect here. Some months we don't have food to enough money to put a lot of food on the table, and that's kind of scary. But I know it because it's familiar. What if I go and I build this big successful business and it's unfamiliar. And then what if I get used to that and I lose it all? That's really scary. So it's easier to stay over here in the familiarity zone, right? Except we can actually train our nervous system and our unconscious mind to feel like what we want is actually familiar. So, what is intuition exactly? Now, I could teach a full hour just on talking about this one slide, but I'll move through it as quickly as I can. Your intuition is this inner knowing. It's a sense of certainty that doesn't require proof or logic. It's just, have you ever said, I don't know how I know, I just know? And right now, it doesn't really make sense. For some reason, I just feel like I need to do this. I need to call or text this person. I need to go for this walk. I need to go down this path, but I don't know why. Has that ever happened to you where you just had this inner feeling, this inner knowing, and it led to something amazing? Maybe you see I'm going to put random in air quotes because it's not, none of it is random. But let's say you see a post on Facebook and you respond to that post and it leads you to meeting someone that then you then marry, or you go to this event and that changes the entire trajectory of your career. It's really incredible and it happens all the time. So your intuition is this inner knowing without actually having proof or logic as to why it's showing up. It's this felt sense, a physical experience that you feel in your body. And when you get to know where your intuition actually, where it shows up in your body, what it feels like, you can know the difference between fear and your intuition. It is often in the chest or the gut, which is why they say trust your gut, or in your throat. just before this call, I was feeling a little nervous. So I'm like, okay, I know I'm not afraid. So I asked myself, what am I nervous about? And then I was like, oh, I'm actually really just excited. And nervousness and fear and excitement show up in the same way in the body. So I reframed that for myself. I did a couple of jumping jacks, pumped my fist up in the air a couple times to use my anchor. For the ones that are on the call that are also NLP practitioners, how to use your anchor when you want to access a really good state. So your intuition, you'll feel it somewhere in your body. It's almost like a calm guidance. It's neutral, it's grounded, and it does not shout or panic. So it's almost like it'll come in and say, hey, you, respond to that text. Call that friend. Let's go to that event. It's very calm. It's not demanding of your attention. It doesn't yell at you. It doesn't panic. It's not frantic. And the thing is, fear will swoop in right after and say, no, we can't go to that event. No, don't call that friend. No, we can't go there. We've never been there before. That's scary. I was on a walk last night. I randomly texted my friend and say, hey, you want to go for a walk? And she said, I'm actually going to go see the sunset. I'm like, all right, I want to go too. Here I am just inviting myself. And we're walking along it's not a boardwalk because it's rocks. So whatever you call that, a boardwalk, but of rocks and not wood. And my intuition said, compliment that guy on his tattoos. And I'm like, okay. So I compliment the guy on his tattoos. I'm like, hey man, those are some pretty sweet tattoos. I really like them. And then we end up having a really good conversation. He's also an entrepreneur. So you never know where that little voice will lead you to. But it's very quiet, it's very quick, and it's not going to repeat itself in the same way. So it's very easy to miss. If my intuition last night said, hey, compliment that guy on his tattoos, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna bother him, then I really just missed out, and he missed out on having a mutually awesome conversation. And your intuition is always speaking. Imagine how many things we're missing out on because we're choosing not to listen to our intuition. Like life is not meant to be comfortable, it's not meant to be familiar. You're meant to just continuously go down the path of life. And if you choose to follow the life of surrender, you're going to be constantly introduced to different things that you've never experienced before. I think that life is really about that. And when you choose to commit to living a life of surrender, it feels safe and okay, even though it's completely unfamiliar and you don't really know what to expect. But you've programmed your nervous system and your mind to feel like that is okay. That unfamiliarity is actually what familiarity felt like before in the body. I'm really just fly off the seat of my pants, go with the flow, see where it takes me. I'm learning to prepare a little bit more because I do a lot more coaching and stuff, and I want to show up fully for all of you. But I really do invite you to invite more spontaneous into your life. And then finally, your intuition speaks first always. It'll speak first, and then your fear or logic will swoop in really fast. So you can expect that to happen. You can expect it to happen every time. So I invite you to start becoming aware. You can even keep a little journal or a section in your notes app. Intuition said, I call them messages. So intuition said, text a friend. Did I do it? Okay, what did that lead to? Did I choose to ignore it? Dang, I'll never know what that was supposed to lead to. You can start keeping track of how often you listen to your intuition or override and ignore it. You can always take a picture of this slide if you want to remember what intuition versus fear feels like and looks like. Intuition, again, is very calm. You can think of it as like a really flowy, calm person, whatever that looks like to you. I'm wearing like really flowy gypsy pants right now, so that's what I feel my intuition is. Really calm, clear, grounded, neutral. Arrives quietly, and it kind of has this feeling of we should do this. This feels right. But it comes in and it goes really fast. kind of like a bird or a butterfly comes in and you notice it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's, oh wow, that was beautiful. But if you didn't take time to be aware of it, you'll completely miss it. Fear and conditioning, past conditioning from your childhood, and throughout your life, you'll feel it in your body. It's loud, urgent, chaotic. It feels rushed and frantic. It's repetitive, okay? It's no, don't do this. It's scary. Retract, pull back. It gets louder over time. It's very persistent. And it comes in the form of, oh, but what if this happens? What if this goes wrong? What if you fail? What if people judge you? What if you make an event and no one shows up? What if someone says something really mean about you? What if someone asks for a refund? What if you're rejected? So that's what your fear and conditioning sounds like. And for me, your intuition and as you train your brain to say, okay, and okay, and what if no one shows up? I showed up. Okay, and what if I get rejected? That just means that person wasn't meant for me. Okay, and what if I do say the wrong thing? Oh, it's okay. So, a phrase that you can start to use to override your fear and conditioning without saying, no, that's not right, because now you're starting to get into a battle with yourself, is to simply say, okay, and what's the worst that could happen? Okay, and two words, extremely powerful. The reason why you may not be able to hear your intuition as often as it's speaking are some of these reasons. Does anyone ever feel like they've had a time in their life where they weren't able to hear their intuition? I have before. So sometimes we're not able to hear our intuition as often as it's speaking, which is speaking all the time. It's because the constant noise, notifications, social media, other people's opinions, it's 24/7 input. The person that I met on the beach yesterday, I'm like, oh, what is your Instagram? I'll message you and I'll send business your way because he's a contractor. And he's, oh, I don't have Instagram on my phone. I check it at my computer. And I giggled. I'm like, that is so sweet. Who checks their Instagram on their desktop computer? I thought that was the sweetest thing ever because he is not allowing the constant noise of social media to bombard him 24/7, and he's very intentional with when he checks it. So I imagine he's hearing his intuition a lot more because he's not always tapped in. If you're constantly listening to music or the television or news or podcasts and books, you're not able to actually hear what your intuition is saying. And listening to stuff is good if you're feeding your mind. For 2.5 years, I didn't have a TV in my house. I finally gave my son a TV and I put it in the basement and I said, okay, you can only use it sometimes because I do not like the constant noise of stuff going on in the house. I need absolute silence. Sometimes, but give and take. But you know what a lot of people do? It's automatic. They'll wake up and they'll turn the television on for background noise and they'll have it on all throughout the day and the radio. And it's like that background noise is actually, if it's the news or the radio, it's actually destroying your nervous system and your unconscious mind because it's constantly giving you negative messaging. If it's the news and things like that, constantly you're filling your unconscious mind without even realizing it, all of this fear and negative conditioning. So if there's anything that you take from this call and you're already doing that, I invite you to just shut it all off. Be very intentional with what you allow into your mind. This is a garden. This is a garden. Everything that you let in is planting seeds. And this is shaping your life. I tell my son, be very careful with the music you listen to because when you listen to it, you repeat the words and you infuse it with emotion. It's going in as truth. It's actually building your identity. This is who you are becoming by repeating these things over and over again. I used to love listening to music and I still do, but I'm very intentional with when, where, and what I listen to because once I learned this, I'm like, Wow, that's crazy. So number two is chronic overthinking, especially if you've had a dysregulated nervous system for a while, if you have any stored trauma or emotional baggage from the past. Your mind never rests. You might wake up in the middle of the night in a panic. You might have number three is emotional overwhelm. Big emotions drown out the quiet inner knowing. If you're flooded with stress and anxiety and worry and fear, you're not actually able to hear it because you're in a state of fight or flight. You're in a state of survival. So what we do with coaching when I'm work with my clients in my group program, Worthy and Free, as well as in my one-to-one, we do timeline therapy, quantum time technique. We clear out the emotional baggage from the past so that you can actually operate from now. And you're not having those old emotions lingering in your nervous system and therefore controlling your life. And then another one is body disconnection. Intuition lives in the body. It does not live outside of you. You cannot find the answers outside of you. You have all the answers within. You may see signs outside of you, little nudges and reminders that what you're feeling is true, so follow on that nudge. You might be thinking of a friend and all of a sudden that friend texts you. I love that so much. You might start to manifest things. What you believe in your mind, you then start to see in the physical reality, but everything starts first in the mind. Intuition lives in the body. So if you've learned to live in your head versus feeling in your body, you're cutting off that channel for yourself. Does anyone here like to dance or move their body around? Or I'm not a good dancer, but I'll shake my body out because it feels good. And now I'm shaking up the emotions and the energy that's in my body to then let in. I always say surrender, let go to let in. You know how dogs will shake out their bodies when something happened? Maybe they stubbed their little doggy toe or someone hurt their feelings and yelled at them. Dogs feel things too. Then you'll notice that they'll do a big yawn or they'll shake their body out. Us humans respond in the same way. So honestly, next time something pisses you off or you're sad or something, get up and just move your body. You're not doing it in this sexual way, although you can if you want to, but it doesn't have to be a sexual thing. You just know that you're moving your body and therefore you're allowing in the messages of your intuition, your unconscious mind to say, hey, what is next? What is next for us? Because, like I said, it's always listening. So, we're actually trained from a young age not to trust ourselves, especially if you're someone who has ADHD or is highly sensitive or empathetic. In the schooling system, they need everybody to just shut up and be quiet and listen and sit down and do your work and obey. Us humans are not meant to do that. And so if you're really excited and energetic and you have a big personality, and people are constantly telling you that you're bad and you're wrong and you don't fit in and you don't belong and you're too much, then you're like, oh, maybe they're right. Because we look towards our parents and our caregivers and the people in our lives when we're young to tell us how to operate in the world. So if we're constantly told that we're wrong, who we are, who we feel like we are is wrong or bad, we're like, oh, okay, that's strange because I thought I was this person. I thought this is how I felt, but you're telling me that I don't feel this way. So then can you tell me how I do feel then? Because this feels strange. I thought I was sad, but you're telling me you're not sad. You're not sad. Be happy. Or if you say, I'm feeling scared, you're not scared. You're not scared. Relax. Oh, okay. If I'm not scared, then what am I? So these are just a few small examples, but could you imagine the compound effect if you were constantly told that how you felt and what you thought was wrong? Why on earth would you trust yourself? So it started at a very young age, even if you're a baby. Even when you're a baby and your parents said, stop crying, be quiet, stop crying. And I get it. I'm a mom too. My son is 12, and when I was a young mom, I didn't have any of these tools. We're not taught this stuff in school. I'm on a mission to change that, but we're not taught this in school. So I would say to my son, "Oh, you're okay, you're fine, you're not hurt, you're good, you don't have to cry, it wasn't that bad." Dang it. I just taught him not to trust himself. I forgive myself for that. We do the best we can with what we know. So once you know this, you can not only help yourself, but you can also help your kids and the people around you. Very powerful stuff. You can even ask yourself, where in my life did people say I was wrong, I was too much, and to doubt myself? And then just start to rewire that part in you. Say, I honor that I was sad. I honor that I was afraid. I honor that I was worried then, even if the people around me said that I wasn't. And who are they to tell me what I feel, anyways? Who are they to tell me who I am? People will go around and put all of these labels on you. Oh, you're shy. Oh, Cass is an introvert. She's just really shy. Am I though? I don't think I am, but you're my mom and I'm really young, so maybe I am an introvert. Maybe I am shy. And so I feel like adulthood is just ripping off all of these layers to be like, hey, this is actually who I am. So many of my clients say after working together, they're like, Cass, I never knew who I was. This is the first time I've ever been able to actually meet myself. And many of the people I work with are in their 50s even. All ranges from late, I have a 14-year-old client actually, but it doesn't matter when you start. And the people's smiles change. When you start to figure out who you actually are and meet yourself and come home to you, you actually change. You're brighter, you're more vibrant, you're happy, your smile changes. It's really incredible to see. Has anyone ever done work on themselves so much that they started to actually look different? I remember when I was in a narcissistic relationship for 5 years, my face and my eyes started to just drain of color, drain of happiness and excitement. And I go back and I look at pictures and I was like, where did I go? I wasn't even in my body anymore. I had fully self abandoned myself. My eyes were gray and dark. My face was flushed. I didn't have this energetic vibrancy that I have to me now. So it's really interesting when you start to do this work. And then other people start to notice too, and they're drawn to you like a lighthouse. So, like I mentioned, doubt was born in childhood, in environments where expressing yourself felt unsafe, where you were punished, dismissed, or ridiculed for your choices. Let's say I don't like a lot of food, and so I say that I'm picky. I'm working on that because I don't want to be a picky eater. But if you had told someone, I don't like that, and they started to shame you for your choices, and it's, oh, so it's not safe to actually have an opinion or to have a choice. Relationships where you had to shrink to be accepted, repeatedly betraying yourself to keep the peace. Walking on eggshells is like one of the worst feelings. So, the exciting thing about this is once you can start to change it, it's a big unraveling because once you start to see things from a different lens, everything starts to change. It's really incredible when you start to question things that you thought were true in your life. It's an adventure for sure because it can feel a little shaky at first because it's like, oh my gosh, everything that I thought I knew, it's not exactly what I thought it was then. But let me tell you, it's one of the best journeys that you could ever choose to go on for yourself. It's one of the greatest acts of self-love is to decide to change the lens through which you're seeing yourself in the world around you. Your self-doubt has a source and an originating point. There are costs of ignoring it, as we all know. We've all missed out on things in our lives because we chose not to listen to our intuition, because we chose to override the red flags. We called them orange or yellow. We chose to let fear get in the way. We chose not to uphold our boundaries. So, the cost of ignoring your intuition is staying in relationships, jobs, or situations past the expiry date. I bet you for a lot of people, the expiry date for certain relationships is after the first date. But then they stay 10 years and it's, oh, I knew from the beginning, but I didn't leave. or a job. So many entrepreneurs, I want to call them our entrepreneurs because they're in these two worlds. They're in a 9 to 5 or a job still, but they want to pursue this business, but they're afraid, and now they're living in these two worlds. How long do you wait until you finally decide? Another cost of ignoring it is burning out from constantly overriding your needs. So many people come to me because they're burnt out, and burnout shows up in so many different ways. I had a girl recently that decided to work with me for my one-to-one coaching, and she literally had the flu because she had burnt herself out. And as soon as she said yes, it's really cool what the body will do. As soon as she said yes to doing the work, she got the flu. Is really neat. And I'm like the master at reframes. I'm like, oh, how cool is it that you got the flu? That must mean that your body is ready to get rid of this from your body and move on into the next amazing chapter of your life. What kind of sick person gets excited about having the flu? That's me. Because I'm like, if I'm getting sick right now, it must mean that something really amazing is about to happen. I've programmed my brain to think this way. I used to suffer from suicidal depression and anxiety. I didn't start here, but you can train your brain to think this way. Another cause of ignoring it is chronic anxiety. When the inner signal can't get through, it escalates. And the fear cycle just perpetuates itself. We don't actually have to feel anxiety. We don't have to feel depression. And a lot of people won't like that I say that. The more loud I get on the internet about this kind of stuff, the more upset people get, and that's fine. That's fine. I really don't think that people have to have anxiety and depression. We can get rid of it because it's in the body, it's in our thoughts and our minds, and when we change those things, we can feel a different way. Yeah, it is common for things to get rough when you decide to put effort into changing your life. Absolutely. Because when you finally decide to say yes, the universe, God, or whatever starts to rearrange your life to make space for the things that you're asking for. You have to become someone different in order to receive something different. You guys, if you think everything is going to stay the same, I'm sorry, but it's not going to be that way. In fact, it's probably going to be pretty epic. It's probably going to get pretty epic. You might get fired from your job. You might break. Okay, I'm gonna try and say this in a way that I'm not putting negative things out into the ether. So just say, cancel everything that Cass is about to say. Temporary example, I'm not putting this out to anybody. But you might, if you're like, I'm ready to go all in on my business, you might get a call that you are now fired from your job. It literally makes space. If you constantly say, I want a new car, I hate this car, guess what? Sorry, but your car might break down or you might get into a fender bender, and now all of a sudden you have to get a new car. There's no coincidences. Be very careful what you're asking for. If you're like, I'm so stressed, I need a break, I'm so stressed, I need a break, and now all of a sudden something happens that you're forced to take a break, not always in the way that you want, be very specific. Someone recently told me she got into a car accident. Someone rear-ended her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry that happened. And she's okay. She just has chronic pain now. And I'm like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, what were you thinking about leading up to that car accident? She's how much I hated my marriage and how I had to get out of it. I'm like, oh, okay. So now your body is holding on to this because if you can't actually function, how can you give yourself to this person and this person you don't want to give yourself to anymore? Your body thinks it's trying to protect you by giving you this chronic pain because the medication wasn't working, physio wasn't working, and I'm like, there has to be a deeper reason here. And again, this is my belief, and there's science to back it, but you can choose whatever you want to believe. I believe that whatever you think about, you bring about. And therefore, if you brought about it, you can get rid of it if you don't want it. If you weren't specific enough about what you want and how you wanted it to show up in your life, right? Is I need a break. I really need a break. And by break, a vacation, a nice sunny destination that I don't have to pay for. That would be ideal. So play the game of life. This is honestly, this is just a game. You might have a persistent feeling of emptiness or living a life that looks good on paper but feels hollow. I have a lot of high achieving people that come to work with me saying, Cass, my life looks perfect on the outside. People look at me and think I have everything. And I thought I did. But then I realized that I actually feel empty inside. It's because they've created a life around this identity of who they thought they should be in order to have a good life. That white picket fence version of a life. Get married, get a good job, go to university, get a high paying job, buy a house, have kids. Once you have all that, some people are like, this is great. Other people are like, oh shit, that wasn't it. And now what? That's where a lot of people sell everything and buy a camper van and travel the world. Oh, if that wasn't it, let me try this. But there's also a lot of people that just settle and say, I put in the work and I worked really hard to get here, so I should just be happy with what I have. And I swear sometimes, so I'll just tell you beforehand, if you have everything you thought would make you happy, but it's not making you happy, but you're unwilling to do anything about it, to that I say, fuck that. Honestly. Life is way too short to settle. If your intuition is saying this ain't it, then maybe there's a two-parter to this. Maybe you have stuff that's lingering in your nervous system or your past that's not even allowing you to enjoy what you have. I had a client recently in my program, and she, through timeline therapy, we went back into her past and she realized that she created a belief that she wasn't lovable. So her entire life, she's been collecting evidence to support that belief that she's not lovable. When we went back and she realized that's what she decided when she was young, unconsciously, she went back along her life timeline to be like, oh my gosh, I was loved all along. I had so much love in my life. I just didn't see it because I believed that I wasn't lovable. So before you start to uproot everything in your life, maybe first pay attention to the beliefs that you have. That's number one. So when I ask people, what have you been thinking about? It's like, oh, I want $1 million and I want all this and that. It's like, okay, but what are you really thinking about? It's like, oh, I feel like I'm not enough. Bingo. That's underneath the surface. You can speak positive affirmations all day long, but if underneath the surface you don't feel capable or worthy of having the things that you desire, you're going to continue to call in the things that you don't want. Mic drop on that one, you guys. That's huge. So if you don't yet have the things that you want in your life, that's probably what's going on. And so when you don't trust yourself, you'll always look outside of yourself for answers. You'll call your friend, hey, I think that this person isn't treating me right, but what do you think? Girl or boy or man or whatever. You're just afraid of making the decision to leave or change the situation you're in because what if you make the wrong choice? What if the decision you make is wrong? I'll tell you that if it comes from your intuition, it can never be wrong because your intuition will never misguide you. That's why it's super important to know the difference between your fear and your intuition. Because if you make a choice based off of your fear versus your intuition, well, that's another story. But if you know that, okay, this is for sure coming from my intuition, I know what it feels like, sounds, I'm going to make this choice, it can't be a wrong choice. And then you have to have faith and trust that every single thing, all the answers that you need in order to actually go about whatever you're trying to go about comes through to you. You have to have that faith. That's a big piece of the puzzle. Whether you believe in God or source or universe or angels or whatever it is, I really do encourage you to believe in something bigger than yourself that is helping guide you onto your path so that you don't feel like you're doing it alone. If I didn't if I didn't give myself up to God or universe, or I believe in all of it, more the merrier, come join my party. I could use all the help that I can get. If I didn't lean on something bigger than myself, I would probably still be in an abusive relationship, still drinking alcohol until I was blackout, still binge eating, still in a job that I got $13 an hour. I mean, I would not be where I am now. And I attribute that to my intuition and relying on something bigger than myself. And the thing is, a lot of people stay there in those $13 an hour jobs, in abusive situations, in jobs that situations that they just don't love because they're afraid. But when you can trust yourself and you can trust that you can trust yourself, everything changes. Decisions become easier. Successful people are decisive. You move faster. I am an action taker. If anyone knows me well enough, they know that Cass doesn't mess around. Cass is an action taker. If I learn something, I learn it and I go with it. I don't overthink about it. I used to, but if it's coming from my intuition, I know I can trust it. I know some people in this room know what to do with their business, but they're not doing it because they're afraid. So when you know that you can trust your intuition, everything becomes easier. You feel grounded. You create your actual life, not the one that you think you should want, but the one that is actually yours. And that's why I host vision board workshops, because a lot of people are creating vision boards based on the things that they should want. That's why so many people's vision boards are very generic and they look the same. Workout, healthy vegetables, a big house. It's okay, but what do you really want? If you do actually want those things, then great. But did you actually ask yourself what it is that you want underneath all of the conditioning? I mean, and I was like, so these are a few ways to reconnect with your intuition. Personally, for me, I like to sit in my shower. I sit on the floor in my shower. I let the water wash over me and I ask my intuition, what am I meant to know right now? Silence is everything, stillness is everything. I have quite a few meditation and hypnosis tracks that help people get into a state of stillness. Body awareness, just asking yourself, what am I feeling? And what does this feeling mean? Emotions are information, but so many people numb them out and run away from them and fear them. They're the most valuable information. And when you can allow yourself to see emotions as that, oh my gosh. But the sad part is that, and I'm not saying don't take medication, but what I am saying is that there's so much mental health struggles out there that when people are saying that they're sad, they say, okay, here's the pill, but not actually talking about what's causing the sadness. Asking better questions. Ask yourself, what do I actually want versus what should I do? What do I want? And then finally, the first response. I've said this already, but it's worth re-mentioning that the first gut response is your intuition. It's very quiet, calm, grounded. It doesn't repeat itself. That is your intuition. And then you know that immediately after, your fear and conditioning comes swooping in and no, don't do that. So honestly, I would say that just do the opposite of whatever your fear is saying. Just learn to condition yourself to do the complete opposite of what your fear is saying. If you notice your fear more often, say, all right, if you're saying not to talk to this person, it must mean that I'm supposed to talk to this person. And I want to hear about where that leads you. Like, where are you guys going to go? The more you listen to your intuition, you're going to go on some pretty epic journeys. I hope that I get to be a part of some of them. Some more tools to reconnect is to stop outsourcing your decisions. The next time you think, I should probably ask so and so before I put up this landing page, I want their feedback to see if it's good enough. No. Ask yourself, do I think this is good enough? Great. Or instead of saying, what should we have for dinner? Decide for yourself. This is what I want for dinner. Little simple things that don't actually require skin in the game can allow you to build that muscle. Build evidence of self-trust. Ask yourself, where in the past did I trust myself and it led me down really awesome paths? Your brain needs proof. Follow through on the small things. That's how you build self-trust. If you say you're going to go to the gym, then go to the gym. If you say that you're going to go to the gym at 6 a.m. and you don't do it, then still go at some point in the day. Because even though you didn't follow through on the time part, at least now you're following through on the action part. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And that's how your self-trust builds through kept promises. If you say, I'm not going to eat sugar today, but 99.9% of the time you do eat sugar in the day, then try and change that to actually set yourself up for success. Today I'm going to eat 2 servings of fruit or veggies. Instead of cutting yourself off from something, just add something in. And regulate your nervous system. Like I said, dance, shake your ass, breathe. Breath work is really good. Shake your body. Movement, grounding, breath work, sitting in the water, these are all really great ways to reconnect with yourself. And when you do, oh my gosh, you guys will become unstoppable and everyone will be gravitated towards you. And then you'll have this self-trust to know where are the energy vampires and where are the actual people that I should give my attention to, because you want to be, people are looking for high vibe people. You want to develop boundaries where you're not just giving yourself to everybody. So I think we know by now that if you can't hear your intuition clearly, it's because your system is dysregulated. And you guys, regulation isn't self-care. They say do yoga and do breath work, do self-care. This is not self-care. This is regulation. This is very important. This is connecting with your inner truth. This is your compass. You cannot access this outside of you. This is something that you access from within. So if you're like, oh, I don't have time to do breath work, look, oh, that was easy. I literally just did some breath work. It's not difficult. But some people, because we get up in our heads and think it has to be this whole big thing, we're like, oh, I'll do it later. No, now. Do it now. I will stand up right now. I'm going to invite all of you to stand up actually and do something right now to connect with your body. And if you say later, I'm shutting this whole thing down. If you can, if you have the ability to stand up, I see many of you stand up and do something to connect with your body. Whether that's breath, whether you want to shake out your body, shake that ass. Okay, I'll skim through these fairly quickly. Underneath all of this, if you feel like you still know what to do, but you're not doing it, and you feel like your intuition is telling you to do something, but you feel like you're still not able to do it, there's a reason why. And you can't think yourself out of this. This is not a mind game. This is stored stuff in the nervous system that needs to get out of the way in order to actually move on so that you can feel safe to follow through on your intuition. I gave you a few tips that you can do on your own. This is stuff often that is guided with a practitioner such as myself or someone that you trust to clear out emotional baggage, unprocessed experiences from the past, stored trauma in the body, subconscious patterns like those beliefs that I said. That girl, she wanted to lose weight, but she was equally terrified that she would have loose skin. If we hadn't done that process together, she could be trying for the next 20 years to lose weight and she'd be going on all these crash diets. She'd lose a little bit of weight, but then gain it all back because her body wouldn't feel safe to actually release the weight. How much time are you willing to waste to keep trying and trying to work it in your head? If it hasn't been working up until now, then something else needs to change. And then, of course, like I said, the stored trauma and then the identity and belief systems. Start to become aware of when you say you want to do something, but you feel like, oh, I can't do it. There's a reason why. You can journal, meditate, and think positively all you want. But if your subconscious is wired for fear, doubt, and self protection, you will not follow through. And it makes me so sad because so many people stay stuck for days, months, years, decades. And you do want these things. It's not that you don't want the things that you say that you want. It's just that your body doesn't feel safe yet. So this is the kind of work that creates rapid change. Rapid change. This stuff is so fast. We don't, like when I work with people, we don't sit and talk about it. I actually tell my clients, we're done talking, okay? Not doing that anymore. Let's actually help you move on with your life. Get in, get out. Through NLP, reprogramming the language patterns and mental representations driving your behavior. It's all what's happening on the unconscious level. Hypnosis, no, it's not making you cluck like a chicken or making you do weird things or getting your passwords. It's really just meditation. You're very relaxed. But the cool thing is we can actually install the things that you want to do. Let's say if you want to have a thriving business, it's like we drop that right into your mind and your unconscious accepts it as truth. It's okay, let's go. Let's go. This is who we are. We're a successful business owner. Cass hypnotized me. First, we clear out all the stuff that's clogging the pipes, but then after, it's go time. Quantum time technique clears out past emotional charge from experiences. Something that's really cool is my clients will say, the strangest thing is happening to me. And I'm like, oh, what is that? They're like, I remember how I used to respond, but it's like my body doesn't let me feel it anymore. It's the strangest thing. I know that I used to get triggered about this, but for some reason I don't feel it in my body. And they're sitting there waiting for the feeling of stress or anxiety or fear to show up. But because we remove it from the nervous system, they can't actually access it anymore. And isn't it so interesting that their brain is trying to access it? It's like this is when we usually feel stressed. But because they can't feel it in their nervous system, they don't actually follow through on the stressed out state. If that's not exciting, I don't know what is. Very cool. When people say, Cass, something strange has been happening, I'm like, yes, they're feeling it. So it would be really amazing to be able to wake up and know what to do and then actually do it, right? That would be awesome. Make a decision and not second guess yourself. To feel that quiet voice and actually follow it. And to live a life that's yours and not the one that made sense on paper according to whoever said that's how you should live your life. So I gave you all some very powerful tools today. If you do want to go deeper into this work and you're ready to move on with your life and stuff is still lingering in your nervous system and in your subconscious because you know what to do, and even though this has been great, this is not clearing out. This I didn't do the deep work with you today on the call. So if you do want to go deeper with me, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't share this with you. So you can have a call with me, a 45-minute session. That session alone could change your life if you let it. That's like an introduction. We hop on a call, we have a conversation, and I ask you, what do you want and why don't you have it right now? It's a very eye-opening conversation. And if after that you choose that you want to have more work with me, we just roll that payment into working with me. No obligation. I'm just here to be of service. So if you know that you've spent so much time doubting yourself, second guessing yourself, holding yourself back, knowing what to do but you're not doing it, I strongly suggest that you take advantage of this. This offer is up every single day of the year. It's not like a you have to buy on this call. It's just an invitation. And keep coming back to these meetups. These meetups are free as well. But if you're done thinking about it and talking about it and you're ready to do the deep inner work that's required to create massive change in your life, then reach out to me, okay? Let's have a conversation. Okay. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm sending you all so much love and gratitude. Until next time.